Hey, welcome to Three Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today is our open forum Sunday. Usually we do a pop culture stream where we talk about any and everything. Usually this is prepared where I basically go through all the pop culture things I consumed over the week, and then I tell you guys, what I thought of it. I analyze things. But most of this past week, I spent watching wrestlers, the Netflix special on Ohio Valley Wrestling. So I spent a lot of time watching that, and the video for that will be up tomorrow. So since that's the case, I don't really have much to get into. So basically, this is going to be letting you guys ride. I did watch one episode of Lovecraft Country because my girlfriend asked me to, because she wants to talk about Lovecraft Country, and but I could tell you this: I do not like watching these essays from Black Studies students about. I just don't like it. I just modern Black culture is toxic. I just refuse to participate. But I did watch the first episode, so I guess we'll talk about that. I guess if you guys have ever seen Lovecraft Country. But I can just tell from episode one, it's not going to be my thing. WG Phil, G the kid, how are you guys doing? Hopefully everybody had a safe and productive Sunday. I do have new comics. I do have some new books. I guess I could talk about. I have these gigantic historical atlas of the world of mythology Joseph Campbell books. I got two of the three or two of the six that he did. Oh man, I bought these last week. I have not even cracked them open yet because they're going to require um, me to actually sit down and read them, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. They're pretty big books too. Um, I also got volume 2 of Chuck Dixon's Robin comic. Uh, I heard a lot about his Robin comic. I'm not really a Robin fan, but I heard a lot about his Robin series. So it was for the cheap. It was what $750. That wasn't too bad out of and it's what's Robin 2, 1 through 4, Robin 3, 1 through 6, and some Batman in here. So I'm interested in this. I have a new manga, Blade of the Moon Princess. I haven't read it yet. Uh, I have an old X-Men Avengers comic. It's called Blood Ties. It's a graphic novel, I think. It was $6 or $7 from the bookstore. It seems to be about some villain that wants to destroy um, the entire bloodline of Magneto. So that sounds interesting. So I got that. But other than that, I really don't have anything, you know? So it's up to you guys, man. What are you guys watching? What are you reading? What are you going through? I may start going through this Joseph Campbell thing in the Discord because I love me some mythology. It's my thing, and that's really what led me to watching at least episode 1 of Lovecraft Country. Because she's like, "Oh yeah, you like mythology, don't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do, kinda." Well, you like this show, and I looked at the blurb that kind of explains what the show is, because I heard about the show before and I didn't watch it, and I read the blurb how hyper racist 1950s America. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm not watching this. But I watched episode 1 because I think you got to give things some opportunity to piss you off. Usually I skip these shows because they're not interesting, and typically that was not interesting, so I didn't watch it. But I watched episode 1, and it was exactly what I thought it would be, if we're being honest. All right. But what are you guys getting into over there? You guys reading any books, watching any TV shows? What's going on? I know it's not a big crowd today, but it tends to build over time from from what I'm watching. Um, a lot of people are, I guess, in pop culture, the new thing is Russell Brand being accused of rape, which is very convenient. It happens to everybody. Who breaks from the mainstream narrative. They end up being a rapist. You can always find somebody to hide behind a black screen and say that you're a rapist. Well, that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It just means that it's very convenient how every time you start questioning the government or whatever. How did I meet my girlfriend? I've known this girl for over 10 years. I've known this girl for a long time. Uh, so yeah, I've known her since like 2009. So it's been a long time. It's not new. I just don't mention it. But it's she sometimes has me watching shows and I don't want to watch them. Usually I can avoid watching it by it's just not being interesting to me. But she pitched Lovecraft Country by saying like, "Oh yeah, it's about mythology and all this kind of stuff." And I didn't know it was like um, I guessed that it was the way that it was from the initial reaction of when I looked it up. Plus I had heard of it before. I just didn't know what it was. But I I finally sat down and paid attention. It's like 3 years old. The show's 3 years old. So, but I didn't. I think I owed her to watch that one episode because she watched the last days of Ptolemy Gray, which is a show that she didn't really want to watch because she just knew the show was sad. She don't like sad material. But I was I liked the show, so we watched episode one, and we never really went past episode one. So I guess she didn't like it, which is fine. But I kind of knew that while she was watching it, she wasn't really gonna like it because the show is sad. But and episode one was pretty damn sad too when it comes to that show. So they didn't wait till the end to start hitting you in the feelings. They hit you in the feelings very early. But this show, I just knew it was bad from jump. It just sounds like it was written by people who haven't read more than one or two history books. You know, it just doesn't make sense. Am I familiar with Five Nights at Freddy's? I am not. What is that? What is it about? While I got you guys here, what is on the back of my book here? I got a paperback version of Joseph Campbell's Historical Atlas of World Mythology. It's part one, The Sacrifice. Is volume two, The Way of the Seeded Earth. So inside this book is Of the Will in Nature, Agricultural Origins and Dispersals. That's one of the chapters. Another chapter is Diffusion, Convergence, and Parallelism in the Formation of Cultures. It says another one is Two Ways to Rapture. Another was The Sacrifice, the Prime Symbol, the Myth, the Festival, the Offering, the Historical Forms. So it's like pictures, maps, and various other things in here. What is this? It's like an old newspaper article. But it's got like a lot of old stuff in here. It looked like it's across various cultures you know, um, throughout time. You know, some Christian imagery, some ancient Aztec imagery. It looks like it's gonna really kick ass, man. It looks like it's gonna be fun to read. It's not quite, Hero with a Thousand Faces, but it's fine. I got part one and part two. Part two is called Mythologies of the Primitive Planters, the Northern Americas. And these books were $15 a piece, but they're very old and pretty damn big. And this one is called uh, Mythologies of the Primitive Planters. And it says two agricultural systems, nomadism to seed gathering, North American agriculturalist rights and myths. That's going to be probably my jam. I'm probably going to end up having to read that. And some of the peoples that are featured in here are the Iroquois, the Algonquins, Tales of the Northeast Woodlands, the people of the Trail of Tears, the origins of maize and game. This is like it's going to really kick ass. And some of the art in here is very nice. You get like some of the old masks, and you get to look at what their huts looked like. Like I'm looking right now at the Iroquois wigwams. Like these things fucking ruled, you know. Like these, I mean, it didn't rule in so much as they were safe because they don't look safe, but just having pictures of it looks very cool. The Iroquois, the Ontario Iroquois, these are turtle shell rattle, with the turtle's head and neck used for the handle. Man, it's like a child's toy made out of turtles. That's nuts. They have a corn spirit which is like an ear of corn with a face on it. There's the same one with a squash spirit, but it's like a squash with like a human face. It's nuts. Tree of the Middle Place. I can't wait to read about some of this stuff. This is right up my goddamn alley in terms of how I'm into spirits and mythology and what people believed, especially pre-Christianity. I'm very interested in that. Pre-Christianity, pre-Islam, what did people believe when they were in their natural state? Before they were introduced to colonization. But even though you can't say that because there's colonization, people just think colonization is, oh, the white man showed up and changed everything. It's these primitive, quote unquote, beliefs have been changed over time too, because those peoples have been not only met other cultures but conquered by other cultures too. So when people talk about stuff like what people believed before Jesus came along or before Allah came along, a lot of that stuff was forced on them too. Like, we tend to believe that it's not, but it is. What are you guys talking about? It's an animatronic game. Is this Five Nights at Freddy's? It's a very popular horror game, video game series. It's a game where animatronics of a pizzeria like Chuck E. Cheese are haunted by the dead children, thanks to American psychopath William Afton. Was he a real person? Was he a real person? Let's see. In the game, you are the night guard. You have to watch over the pizzeria from 1 to 6 a.m. You can close the doors and turn in the lights in your office to keep out the animatronics. The game's lore is confusing as all hell. It's been theorized multiple times without a proper explanation. It's more confusing than the Terminator franchise and the Halloween franchise combined. Oh, well, this probably doesn't make for a good story if it's confusing. Terminator should have been very easy to explain to people. It was just one of those things that it went on too long. And I think when you start getting confusing and you start losing people, you've gone on too long. Terminator is one of those things that is fairly straightforward. The problem is that it went on too long. I don't know where they should have stopped. Maybe they should have stopped before Salvation. So maybe 3. They should have stopped at 2. Some people say they should have stopped at 2. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. Maybe we could sneak 3 past the goalie. But there's a lot of Terminator material that probably shouldn't have had. Halloween, I'm not even into horror, so it's not really my thing. But I thought from what it sounded like, Five Nights at Freddy's, it sounded like it would have been a Freddy Krueger game. Oh, so it's inspired by a real serial killer. Oh, okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. It's like a PlayStation 2 game? PlayStation 2. Like a PlayStation 5 game? Is it a computer game? Like what kind of game is it? It's a mobile app game? I don't know. I never heard of it. I heard somebody's making some kind of mobile app wrestling game. I forget what it's called, but they've been talking about it on Twitter a lot. So Friday night, uh, it says FNAF has the same reputation as The Shining. No one knows what the hell actually happened. Even the most agreed upon conclusions are still regarded as unofficial. It's a PC game. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. I think The Shining is fictional. You know, it's a lot of things sound legit, but they're kind of fictional. Or they might be based on something. It might not have happened in the United States. You never know what could happen in the world that inspires people. And sometimes people come across things in newspapers in other countries or something like that, and they bring it, make it a fictionalized version of it. Like It is not real, but it's based off of a serial killer who used to dress like a clown. So and then you have various other spin-offs, you know, of killers who would dress like clowns. So it kind of happens that way sometimes. What is my thoughts on Jade Cargill going to WWE? Well, one, I'll believe it when I see it. The dirt sheets say a lot of things that turn out not to be true. Two, she most certainly needs work. She needs to, at the very least, go to NXT and get some reps. I don't know. She's definitely useful, but they purposefully didn't teach her anything in AEW. She didn't learn how to work. You know, she can't have. It's always intriguing, the matches, because in AEW she was bigger than everybody except Chris Statlander, who was of equal height. And when it comes to Jade Cargill, her being an Amazon was part of the draw. It was part of the attraction. She was big and muscular. She looked awesome. She looked like a star. And that's what was part of the draw. Once she goes to WWE, she's not the only one. There's other 6-foot Amazons. There's even black ones. Because Bianca Belair is there. Lash Legend is there. Jakara Jackson is there. Then they just brought back Nia Jax, and then you got Rhea Ripley. And then there's probably some big jacked girls in NXT that haven't been seen. So that ought to be interesting. AJ3 says, have I seen the documentary on YouTube about Sonny Liston? I have not. Or have I? Have I seen the documentary on Sonny Liston? You know what? I think I have. Who made it? Before I answer that question, who made it? Because I've watched quite a few documentaries on Sonny Liston. I have a book on on Muhammad Ali, and it has a chapter about all of his most famous opponents, of which Sonny Liston is one of them. And a lot of the stuff that I learned about Sonny Liston, I learned from that book. But I also did watch a documentary on Sonny Liston, but I don't remember which one it was. Virgo Rebel Penguin says that it was good. She also said hello to everybody. That's awesome. Have I seen it? Let me take a look. I'll look, because it's taking you guys too long to tell me where it came from and who made it and all that kind of stuff. See, Sonny Liston. Who made it? Is it Sonny Liston, A Legacy of Menace and Mystery? Because I don't think that's it. I don't think that's the one I saw. Hmm. Let's see. They have an ESPN documentary on Sonny Liston. I don't know if I've seen that. I watched some documentary on Sonny Liston, but this one, the Sonny Liston documentary, A Legacy of Menace and Mystery from Rich the Fight Historian. I have not seen this because it's only been around for 10 days, so I have not seen this. Um, there's other Sonny Liston documentaries that I probably have seen uh, about his mob ties, and he's such a sad story. Like, you talking about a guy who didn't even know what his own birthday was. You know, like, he doesn't even know when he was born. He couldn't read or write. He was in and out of jail. And this was his way of trying to be accepted by society and loved by society, and they kept rejecting him. You know, it was very unfortunate. But I'm gonna watch this other one. We'll probably talk about it next week. Okay, so this is the one I think I've seen, Pariah, the one on Sonny Liston. It's from Showtime. This is the one that I've seen. Yeah, this is the one that I've seen. The one that was put together by Showtime. Uh, what do you think of the rumors of John Cena facing Solo Sikoa at this year's Royal Rumble or WrestleMania 40? It'd be a good look for Solo Sikoa. I think Cena needs to win, but it's a good look for Solo Sikoa. I'm not mad at that. I don't hate that idea. Why Sonny never got the appreciation he I guess I'm saying rightfully deserves? Well, part of it is because Sonny Liston was not a favorite of sports reporters. He was a guy much like, I don't want to say much like Jack Johnson, because Jack Johnson was a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Braggadocious, a little bit more in your face. And the sports reporters, they like the Joe Louis types of heavyweight champions in boxing. They like the straight laced, you know, Joe Louis was considered an American hero, despite the fact that he was black, which is why I get so, pissy about stuff that is super woke about shit in the 50s and 60s, because it completely and totally ignores the fact that there were plenty of white people who liked black folks because they were considered, good Americans, and they fought in the wars and they did, good things. It's not always one way. But Joe Louis became sort of the standard for boxers, even more so than, well, black boxers, let's put it like that. And Jack Johnson was the opposite. He wasn't as far afield as Muhammad Ali. But you had Joe Louis, who was a clean cut guy who, not until he really got older and didn't have any money, he wasn't paying his taxes, but he was a good American. Then you had Sonny Liston, who was the opposite. Again, a guy couldn't read, couldn't write, couldn't articulate. He was a criminal. He was a guy that was in bed with the mafia. He was big, black, and scary. And so there was a lot of people who didn't like that about him. And the fact that he couldn't, endear himself to the writers of the era. Like, Muhammad Ali eventually won them over. He won everybody over eventually. But in that era, Sonny Liston was not the guy that they wanted. They wanted, another Joe Louis or another Floyd Patterson. They didn't want Sonny Liston, but he was, and plus he wasn't champion very long. And a lot of his success did have to do with the mob. And a lot of that was his ties to the mafia in order to get title fights and stuff like that. And then plus some people think that he took a dive. He took dives. But I don't believe any of that. I just think that he was not ready for the skill that Cassius Clay brought. And he fell victim to the head games. Sometimes fights are won before you even get in the ring. And he fell victim to the head games. But there's a lot of reasons why he's not given a lot of respect, but he definitely deserves it for sure. Okay, Press Leads says William Afton gets killed in a brutal way, basically hid from the dead children he murdered by wearing one of the old suits and ended up killed by the suit's spring locks. Now he haunts that suit. Suit? It's like a suit of armor. It's a tuxedo. I don't know. You kind of have to give me a little bit more information than that. Like he was hiding in a suit? I don't know. I don't know. Like, what does that mean? He was hiding in a suit. I don't know. Did I talk to you guys about Dead Man Wonderland yet? Because that anime got on my nerves. I know it's it was only one season, and it's officially unfinished, and I don't think it was going very well anyway. If we're being honest, I wasn't feeling it. I've watched that series twice and wasn't feeling it. I feel like the English version, put way too much cussing in it for the young audience. Because these kids, one of them, Ganta, was supposed to be 12 years old or something like that, and there was a lot of cussing and stuff in it. I felt like it was unnecessary. Even for Adult Swim, it seemed like it was a bit much. Like they tried to make it super edgy. Like when the guy told the warden he was gonna fuck her in half, I was like, what the hell? Like, damn, in half? Okay, shit, do your thing, bruh. But I was like, there's no way that this would have worked on Adult Swim because you can't even talk like that on Adult Swim. So why would you even put that in the localization of the translation? Had to be doing this thing like really heavily in order for us to get to that point. But yeah, I don't like Dead Man Wonderland. One or two of the characters were interesting, but I didn't like it in general. So it getting canceled didn't really bother me. But every once in a while, I forget that I watched it or not. Assassination Classroom is very good though. Did you guys watch Assassination Classroom? Let's see, Cash Sean Ard. Do you think it's huge for Austin Theory to share the ring with The Rock? Well, clearly, I think that should be obvious. I'm gonna start skipping obvious questions. That should have been obvious. Considering all the people on the roster, and you're one of the guys that gets to interact with The Rock when he comes back for the first time in I don't know decades. What the hell? Of course, it's a rub. They've been doing a lot for Austin Theory, by the way, and it seems that that's starting to agitate certain elements of the wrestling fandom. And Austin Theory is the guy who gets these compliments and these opportunities. People are like, nobody cares about this guy. He's nothing. It's like, well, he's in that John Cena spot. When John Cena first came in, he interacted with Kurt Angle and Undertaker and, a couple of other people, but he had nothing going. They just knew he was going to be the guy. They just hadn't found the vehicle yet. That's kind of where Austin Theory is right now, where he's getting put in a lot of important spots while he can, but he hasn't gotten his spot yet. He hasn't found his character, his voice, or what makes him work yet. And I think he was on a path when Vince was handling his career that Triple H took him off of. And then just, I don't know, made him grow a beard, and that was it. And put him in a jacket. I guess that was supposed to be the big push, but we see it's not helping. It ain't helping. Yeah, Muhammad Hassan got to work with Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels. That ruled. But they was also trying to push Muhammad Hassan. Before the terrorist thing happened, Muhammad Hassan was actually supposed to be the world heavyweight champion, believe it or not. He was going to win the belt Uh, I think he's supposed to win it from Batista, but then they had the terrorist angle, which was taped on SmackDown before it happened in London or whatever. And then as soon as it happened, they got him the character kicked off off SmackDown, and they had to kill him off. But they had plans to make Muhammad Hassan the world heavyweight champion. So all of that stuff they were doing was with a plan, in terms of Muhammad Hassan. So they kind of they can foreshadow that he was, that a guy is supposed to be something. But Muhammad Hassan wasn't a gimmick that was uh that was being done for no reason. It was going somewhere. And unfortunately, real life interfered with that. I think Batista got hurt too, didn't he? It was, I think, a little. I think it was a little column A, little column B, because I don't think Batista worked that show anyway. I heard she's going to be in the Performance Center, which means she's going to at least be in NXT. Yeah, I mean, which is the hilarious thing because so many people like Austin Theory. The Rock gave him a compliment. Kurt Angle. Cena. So many people are just saying like this guy's coming along. He gets it. Yada yada yada. And then you get idiots. The Brian Alvarez is. Oh, he doesn't wrestle in exciting enough style. He's not over. It's like, imagine how many people saw this kid numerous times now because he was in a really viral thing at WrestleMania last year. Because he was involved with the Steve Austin, Pat McAfee, Vince McMahon stuff last year at WrestleMania, which was huge on social media. He was involved with John Cena this year that was huge on social media. And now he's fucking involved with The Rock. And that was massive on social media. Yeah, people are going to start caring about him, At this point, there's not much they can do because Roman has the main event tied up so tightly. But this is one of those things that you kind of have to take advantage of. You got to take advantage of this exposure that you've given him. I'm not sure how, but you got to give him something so that he can take advantage of it. What's my favorite Scooby-Doo movie? I don't think I've watched a Scooby-Doo movie that I can remember. Yeah, I don't remember any Scooby-Doo movies. I've pretty much seen. I think I've seen most of them, but I can't think of a Scooby-Doo movie that really kind of stuck with me. Which ones? I think he's going to end up probably doing some stuff with Randy Orton. And if Randy ever comes back, I think he's going to end up doing some stuff with Randy Orton. I also think he's going to end up doing some stuff with Cody once Cody becomes the champion. I think Austin Theory is going to be right in the thick of that. And that's when they're going to start elevating him. Maybe even teasing him becoming the champion. I think if he was on Raw, he'd be a top contender to take the belt from Seth Rollins. But he's stuck on SmackDown, so many people seem to think that he's going to have a really good face turn. And I think if they build it right, it could. And that could be what breaks him through. But it's very, very hard to get over as a babyface. It's really hard. It's easier to be hated than it is to be liked. I can tell you that much. But we'll see. We'll see. I hate trying to play, fortune teller because you never know what stupid thing he might say or do from now till then and blow everything up and ruin it. But he seems to be doing a good job right now. He took his lumps when he did something stupid and got sent back to NXT and became essentially a jobber. So he took his lumps with pride and worked his way back up. But everybody gets into some trouble when you're that age. He's like 25 or 26 or something like that. Randy Orton was a troublemaker back then. Guys get into trouble. And then, the company kind of they punish it. They monitor. Roman got busted for steroids. Randy Orton had several weed busts and had all kind of behavioral problems. Austin Theory hasn't gotten to that point yet where he's, starting to get fined a lot. But he clearly had, I think an issue. I don't know if it was a serious issue or not because it didn't seem like it was serious to me. But people don't like him. But I think a lot of that is political garbage. You know, people don't like him because they say he's not over like L.A. Knight. Okay, well, not many people are over like L.A. Knight. You know, not many people are as over as L.A. Knight. I think that it's a fair thing to say that you would like for him to get better reactions, but he's still only in his like second or third year on the main roster. L.A. Knight's been in the business for 20 years. That's about as old as Austin Theory's been alive. He's got a little bit of an experience advantage. But it'll be okay. WG Field says it was a false allegation. I mean, most of them are. That's the thing. Most of them are, but most people don't. They don't do any kind of goddamn um, any kind of investigation or ask any questions. They just kind of, what the Ultimate Warrior thing is: always believe. LA Knight is a face. Most legends are too easier to put over a heel. It's easier to have a heel so you can bounce off of them. Like you saw how awkward LA Knight made the whole John Cena thing when they were in the ring together because they're posturing for the spotlight. You know, you split the spotlight by putting John Cena out there with LA Knight, as opposed to letting the heel get his heat and the babyface get their pops, and then that's the individual thing. You split it when you got like two baby faces out there. But I really like what they're doing with Grayson Waller, and I'm not a big fan of what they're doing with Austin Theory, but him being the guy that was in the ring with The Rock was the right decision. If he's the guy for the future, it was the right decision. It's just not too much you can say that's gonna change my mind on that. If you got him pegged as being the guy for the future, then it was the right decision. You know, you see what happened with Roman. They put him out there with The Rock, and The Rock presented him with the arm raise, and everybody was like, "Boo!" Can't split the fan base like that. When he was working with Vince, he got really over. People forgot that because it was a very short amount of time, and it was actually late 2016 when he won the title, and he got the cashed in on Sheamus, and they took the belt from him immediately. He had beat Dean Ambrose, which was a bigger babyface than he was at the time. So that's already a problem. He didn't beat a heel to win the title. Then when he did win the title, Sheamus cashed in on him. Then they had Roman cry. when Okada cried because he couldn't beat Tanahashi, that was good. When Roman cried when he got the Money in the Bank cashed in on him, all it made him look weak. And then they did this storyline, of course, between him and Vince McMahon, and that's when they created the League of Nations. And that Raw in Philadelphia, I believe it was October 2016 or was it late November 2016? It's one of the two. And he was super over in that building. It was super over in that building. But then they had the League of Nations, and nobody liked those guys. And there were Romans beating them up every week. And then they did that stupid Royal Rumble where Roman was eliminating everybody. And then they brought AJ Styles in, which took away from Roman being in. So there was some struggle there, but he was super over at that time because he had did that really great scene with Vince. They just didn't drag it out. They gave it to you all at one time. But if you watch that episode of Monday Night Raw, that ends with Roman winning the title back. He was super over at that point. Uh, Marvelous Mike, I didn't know there was an Expendables 4 until I saw an ad for it last week. Do you like any Expendables movie? I like the first one. I definitely like the first one. I don't remember 2 and 3 that well, but I did watch them. But I definitely liked the first one. The first one was fun. I like the Expendables franchise. It's cool. You know, will I watch 4? Yes. I may watch the other 3 in preparation for watching 4. It's a masculine movie franchise. Of course, I'm going to pay attention to it. Why would I? I mean, yes, everybody in the movie is old as Methuselah. You know, Sylvester Stallone and also Schwarzenegger. You know, all of these guys are old as hell. I think Bruce Willis is still in it. Yeah, all these guys are old, but they're not making any young guys do all this cool shit. So let's do it. Let's do the legends. You know, why not? Um, Here's Mongo. Do you think Gunther is going to beat Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship? I think so. I think that would be a smart move on WWE's part. Um, the question is going to be when. You know, Triple H has never, since Gunther has been in WWE, he's never been too long without a title. So my guess is he eventually drops the Intercontinental Championship. He's probably without a title for like a month or two, and then he wins the belt. A lot of people think that he's the favorite to win the Royal Rumble, and I would go there. I would say that Gunther probably will win the Royal Rumble this year. I don't see Cody needing to win it, especially if they're going to do the whole draft thing. They're just going to switch him back to Monday Night Raw. Um, I mean, switch him back to SmackDown. Sorry. So, but you still have the Money in the Bank thing floating around. So you never can tell because maybe they have Seth drop the belt to Damian Priest, and then they have Gunther take the belt from Damian Priest. I don't know. Maybe they don't consider Damian Priest taking the thing, at all. That's why I kind of came up with the idea that maybe Damian Priest would cash it in on the NXT championship, which would be dumb, but right on the lines of what they've been doing with the the briefcase at this point. Who should beat Gunther? Well, I think they positioned Chad Gable very well. Um, I think because he, as a babyface, he swore to God and his children that he's going to win the Intercontinental Championship. I think it should be him, but only because they had him cut the promo where he swore to God and all this kind of stuff. You can't have a babyface go out there and say that stuff and then lose. You can't. It'll kill him. People won't believe in him anymore if you do that. So it depends also on where they want to go with Chad Gable. But he's the front runner, I think, right now. As of anybody else on the roster, I can't think of anybody else on the Raw roster that could probably beat Gunther, be convincing, and is over enough to beat him right now. Who else is there? Drew McIntyre is about to turn heel. New Day, forget it. Jey Uso is a good choice. Jey Uso, is a good option. To give him something for getting as super over as he was in the Bloodline story, which still is going on, by the way. So I still think it's probably better for him and better for the story if he does challenge Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship, and then Jimmy Uso cost him the match. I think that's probably better than if he'd actually won it, because you don't want to blow a big moment. Not too big of a moment anyway. But I certainly think that Jey Uso winning the Intercontinental title wouldn't be a. So that's cool. I guess now that they're not the tag team champions anymore, you got Sami Zayn, you got Kevin Owens. They're potential challengers there. Sami Zayn has already done the Intercontinental title multiple times already. So has Kevin Owens. I think they're good challengers, and they could have good matches with Gunther. I don't think they're a threat to take the belt. if of the two, I would more likely see Sami Zayn get it because he's the more over of the two, which is very odd considering if you'd have told me 10 years ago, and they've been around almost 10 years, well, 10 years, absolutely, that Sami Zayn would be more over than Kevin Owens, and it would be because of his promo work. I'd have told you were crazy because, he couldn't cut a fucking promo. But now that he's found his pocket with the underdog babyface character he has inherited, he is the spiritual successor of Daniel Bryan, then yeah, I think he's the right guy. I don't know. I think that Sami Zayn might be a guy that you can actually consider going a little bit higher. I think he's the guy that he's got to win the world title eventually. I don't know how you do it, but I think you do have to give him the world title eventually. Kaz Ard says, I can't lie, Legado del Fantasma is better than the LWO, especially as heels because them as faces don't work for me. And they suck as faces. They are not good. I'm hoping a heel turn is coming. I'm hoping a heel turn is coming. As much as I love Ray, they can't spread it around. There's too many people. They're talking about bringing Carlito in and all this kind of stuff. I think that they probably should go LAX with it, where there's two different versions of the LWO, a heel version and a babyface version. Maybe you have Ray and another guy or two, and then you have Carlito and his crew of Hispanic wrestlers, and that's like a heel version of the LWO. I think that would be better, if Carlito's coming in, because I heard Carlito was coming in too. So you can bring in Carlito with Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo as a trio, or with Dragon Lee, or something like that, and they could do like a heel version of the Hispanic stable, and then the two Hispanic stables can feud, and people can make their own decision. But the crowd genuinely likes the LWO concept, and it's currently Hispanic Heritage Month or whatever the fuck. So they're I don't think they're gonna break them up in the middle of a Hispanic Heritage Month, but it made some money for a short time. The big backlash was big business for them. They sold a bunch of T-shirts, and it was super over because Bad Bunny was involved, and all those guys were involved with it. Carlito and Savio Vega and shit. But I don't know, brother. I don't know, brother. I don't like the LWO. I'm not feeling it. It should have just been a heel stable. Hey, also, during the ECW watch along stream, I was talking about Super Crazy, and I just found out that Super Crazy is still wrestling. As a matter of fact, he wrestled in August. I think he wrestled for, what was the company he wrestled for? I saw it on their Twitter account. I think it was House of Glory. So Super Crazy is still wrestling. Yeah, it's crazy. It's super crazy. Super effing crazy. Marvelous Mike. Was this week's collision a sign of things to come? I turned it off when the Dark Order guy came on. I heard they don't want to get rid of the Dark Order gimmick out of respect for the old leader. Look, you can do more respect for Brody Lee by being successful than by holding on to a dead gimmick. That gimmick is dead. Nobody cares about that shit. It's over. I wanted to turn it off when I saw that guy too. Look, it's all the same people who are on Dynamite now. This collision thing, if it continues at this rate, it'd be like 2020 Dynamite. That's what it's looking like. Maybe one or two matches that you care about, surrounded by a bunch of people you don't care for, and people you don't know who it is. I mean, the moment that the Workhorsemen came out, that show took a goddamn fart. I mean, the moment those guys were highlighted on the show, you were like, what? How? Why? You know? I know I was dumbfounded. I was split. I was split wide open. How dare you? How dare you bring these fucking guys on the show? You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. Very weird stuff. But I think that is going to be what Collision is going to be so far. It's going to be like the exclusive home of Jay White, and I think they said Danielson is probably going to be the central star of Collision, head of creative for Collision, the star of Collision. But that's basically just all the same fucking guys that was on Dynamite. You know, Hardy Boys, Elite. The brand split at least kept things fresh because you weren't sure what they were going to do. What's my favorite version of Chris Jericho? That's an interesting question. Because I got two. Um, the revamped Chris Jericho where he was wearing a suit, which was in 2008, was really fun. List Chris Jericho was really fun too. And List Chris Jericho was next level interesting. Just a really fun character, really fun gimmick. I haven't been a fan of a lot of the stuff he's been doing since he left. Um, the Painmaker and the Inner Circle, the biker stuff, Jericho. Nah. I haven't been a huge fan of the stuff he's done since he left. But I think the List was probably the really, really over stuff that was great. That was really great. The fat guy from the Workhorsemen or whatever they call looks like my neighbor. He looks like every guy that I have ever seen coming out of a Walmart or a Kohl's. You know, like you definitely have to go across 8 Mile and you see every truck driving dad looks like fucking JD Drake from the Workhorsemen. Jesus Christ. You just can't be real that this guy is like those guys aren't really even credible opponents for the Ring of Honor tag team championships. And they're getting world title shots. That's nuts. WG Phil says Punk said on his C tier MMA show he's doing it for 2 more months to do commentary. How much PR work will WWE have to do to make Punk likable? If they could fix Cody, they could fix Punk. Let me tell you this. WWE does not give a fuck what the AEW fans think about CM Punk. If he comes back, all will be forgiven. People are just going to be like, oh, CM Punk's back. That's great. Because that's how wrestling fans think. They don't really hold grudges. You know, like this newfangled, I'm angry forever kind of thing. It's like I don't see people going through that. You know, I don't really see people doing that. When Hulk Hogan comes out, people still cheer, despite the fact of people on the internet complaining. You know, when Vince comes out, people cheer, despite the fact that people on the internet complain. So CM Punk has not done anything that's on the level of what Vince was accused of, or what Hogan actually was proven to have done. So if Cult of Personality drops at a pay-per-view, at a house show, Raw, SmackDown, whatever, he's gonna get a monster reaction, and people are gonna completely forget about it. They're not gonna care. You know, they're just gonna be like, okay, this time need to be different. And if it's not, then it's not. But they're gonna be excited in the moment, and that's what it's gonna be. You know, when Ultimate Warrior came back, people forgot all of the crazy stuff that he said and did, and they got over it. People on the internet who are permanently attached to the Google button, who want to Google everything. Oh, I'm about to Google whether this guy is problematic or not. Like when Sabu came out, right? There were so many people who in the moment were popped like, oh shit, Sabu, this is actually not bad. And then 20 minutes, 10 minutes it probably took for the Twitter machine to Sabu made homophobic comments and dampered everything, put a big damper on it. That's only because AEW allows it. WWE does not allow these guys to be destroyed in that way. Jimmy Snuka kept coming back, getting huge reactions, even after he was accused of killing somebody. You know, they still mention him on TV. I think that Jimmy Snuka is still in the opening credits, isn't he? The big leap from the cage is still on there, isn't it? They took Ric Flair out when he was accused of sexual assault and all that kind of stuff. He ended up getting back in. They haven't rehired him, at least not officially. I wouldn't be surprised if he got some kind of contract backdoor. But WWE gets over things. You know, they understand it's a business. They do what they need to do for business, but then they get over it, you know. And then they pretty much force the audience to get over it too. Because you just present the guy in a cool way, and then most people are just kind of like, "Oh, what do we do?" Yada yada yada. That's why I don't think it was the whole thing with the boy that sank Velveteen Dream. You know, I don't think it was the thing with the boy that got him, because they took him off TV for a while and they brought him right back. You know, he was off TV for a short time to let the heat die down, and then he was brought back. There was other issues that was involved with that too. And Triple H said it, that he was having behavioral problems. You know, so people think that, oh, they did it because they felt guilty about blah 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 blah. It's like, no, WWE is willing to put you in a corner somewhere to let the heat die down and then bring you back later. They did it to Matt Riddle. You know, Riddle got accused of rape or some nonsense like that. He worked through it. WWE will let you work through it, and that's the one thing I do like about the company. They don't, unless it's obvious and it's something that there's evidence of, they let you work through it. They let Paige get away with that shit she was doing. You know, she didn't get punished at all for that. They let her work through it. Took her off TV for a little while, let her work through it. You know, it is what it is. Business is business. So Punk is no different. So how would you book Punk's road to WrestleMania from Survivor Series? 2 mini feuds and 1 feud to Mania. Well, the question is, who the fuck would who can CM Punk work with that won't cause any problems? That's going to be the question. It's not going to be a top guy because Seth Rollins doesn't like CM Punk. Now, Seth Rollins will work with him because Rollins is business, but he doesn't like CM Punk, so probably not. You know, if he could avoid it, he probably will. I mean, maybe Drew McIntyre. You know, maybe Drew McIntyre. Maybe Brock. Maybe he could do some more stuff with Brock. Uh, yes, you wanted him to do some stuff with Cody. Maybe Randy Orton, if Randy Orton's back. You know, you could do some stuff with Randy. You could, well, are you putting him on Raw or SmackDown? I would imagine he would be on Raw. You know, why would he be on SmackDown? Well, I guess he could be on SmackDown too. Because you also got Austin Theory. This is one of the guys he could work with. Um, he got almost no history with Austin Theory, so that's one thing. You could bring up somebody from NXT for him to work with, I guess. You know, Braun Breaker or something. But it's hard because he's got heat with so many people. You know, who's willing to put it aside to work with him? There's money to be made there, but who's willing to put the heat to the side? You know, that's the question. You know, Triple H is. Triple H don't care. You know, he's working with The Rock. He don't like The Rock, so. Nancy Savage is going. Are you going to Grand Slam, or are you just going to watch the show? Because if you're going to be in the building, that ought to be interesting. I know that another of our comrades, he went to Grand Slam. I think he went to the first one. And hopefully it's fun, man. It's probably going to be really cheap tickets, so you might be able to get in pretty cool, pretty easily. He's cool with Ray and Dominic. Oh, okay. So yeah, you could do Dominic Mysterio. Um, Dominic Mysterio versus CM Punk. I don't think that's a WrestleMania feud. That's maybe a road to WrestleMania feud. Oh, Finn Balor. Finn Balor's a good one. Damian Priest is probably a good one too. So you got Judgment Day. Um, that could work. Maybe they convince Edge to come back. I think Edge versus Punk. I don't think have they ever worked a full match against each other. I think that they could try it. Maybe that could be Edge's go away party. Is the big match with Punk at WrestleMania. Punk could get a big WrestleMania win, and that's that. I guess Nakamura too, yeah, because AJ3 just mentioned Nakamura. So after Seth gets through with Nakamura, who would be his next feud to elevate the World Heavyweight title? Well, he personally wants to work with Ricochet. That's not going to do shit for him or that title. I can tell you that because Ricochet is small as hell. So that's not going to do much for his career. But he wants to work with Ricochet. I'm hoping they do Drew McIntyre because it just feels like it's the right move to do Drew McIntyre. So, but everybody on Raw is a fucking mid carder, man. Outside of Gunter and a couple of other guys, they're all mid carders. They don't have anybody who stands out on Raw anymore. Najee Savage says he's going to be in the building. Oh, good luck. Hopefully you can get floor seats or something like that. That would be fun. So Punk and Edge have not worked a story. They just had the cash in. So that means you have fertile ground to work with. If Edge was to go back to WWE, he can work with CM Punk. They both like working long storylines. All they have to do is show up and cut promos. They can have one or two matches. I would just leave it to the one WrestleMania match. And they never worked before. So I think that would be great. Like if you had the opportunity to do that, I would do that. Because it's two guys who are out of the way. They have no heat with each other. They're both legends. And it doesn't matter who wins and who loses. And it's fine. You know, they never worked. So I think through name value alone, you could do Edge versus CM Punk. I think that would be great. You can dodge the Cody bullet because I don't think Cody wants to work with Punk. Roman doesn't want to work with Punk. Seth Rollins doesn't want to work with Punk. Brock, maybe. I'm not sure. You know what Brock's relationship is with him. We know that Paul Heyman gets along with Punk, but I don't think Punk wants to be involved with that. Oh yeah, Owens and Zayn don't like Punk either. Yeah, they have heat from Ring of Honor. So I don't know. Oh, the Miz. Oh, the Miz will do it. Miz probably got heat with Punk, and he'll probably do it for sure. I don't think Miz gives a fuck. He'll do it. But it's not a main event. It's not a WrestleMania feud, you know, CM Punk and the Miz. Now, they could make it one because you have to dig into their history, though. You'll have to dig into Punk being jealous of the Miz and some of the stuff that he said about the Miz. And the Miz gets a chance to respond. And if you build a story based off that, it could be a solid third match on WrestleMania, you know? But I'm thinking not third match, but maybe fifth, you know? That would be Edge. You know, the big Legends match. He'll be taking the Undertaker spot where, you know, it's a spectacle, it's an attraction. That's how I would look at it, you know? If you need an attraction, CM Punk is an attraction. And so you could do that. But he's got heat with all the ROH guys, so you can forget it. He's got heat with AJ Styles. AJ might be able to put it aside. So guys who probably would definitely be upper level guys that Punk could work with because he doesn't have any heat with them. Gunther, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio. That's 5. Austin Theory, Grayson Waller. That's 7. Um, Edge is 8. Brock is 9 because I don't think he has any heat with Brock. And that's it. Those are pretty much the guys. Now everybody else, you probably have to convince them to drop whatever heat they got with them, like Owens, like Zayn, like Seth Rollins, like Cody, like Roman. You'll have to go and try to massage that and try to make it happen. But guys who don't have heat with Punk, it's probably easier to start there and then work. Maybe let him show that he's a team player. Then he could do that. Lashley's a good option too. I don't think a Lashley Punk match would really jump off like that unless it's got a good story behind it. Yeah, but here's the thing: Seth and Riddle were both under contract at the same time, and the company smoothed it over. They made sure that they smoothed it over before they worked together. Punk holds grudges, and Seth was public about him not wanting to work with CM Punk, and maybe they could talk it out. That's what I'm saying. Like Punk being reflective in his old age and wanting to go up to apologize to guys and show that he's business and all this kind of stuff. Maybe. But I think they probably would put him like on a probational period first, where they don't want to be the first guy to work with them. And I definitely don't think Seth Rollins wants to be that guy because he just did it with Cody. So I definitely don't think he wants to be that guy. Gunther is an option too, but I don't know if he was joking about not wanting to be chopped. Because there's always a rib on Raven, and Raven hates being chopped. But I think that he could definitely work it out with some of these guys, but I don't think they want to be the first one. I think they want to let somebody else take the first bullet, and then they want to watch how he works there before they do anything. Because that would be smart. Because I can see CM Punk and Sami Zayn banging as a match. Could be a fantastic match. The question would be, would Sami Zayn want to do it? And if you got heat with Kevin Owens, you probably got heat with Sami Zayn. So it's hard. It's hard to dictate how that would work. Kevin Owens and CM Punk would go hard too, but they got old heat too. But because they got old heat, it would work. I think. That it was more of an AEW thing to use like their old Ring of Honor heat against in a feud today. But I would do it. Have Kevin Owens throw in his face that he was main event of WrestleMania and CM Punk wasn't. Against Stone Cold Steve Austin, no less, in a T-shirt. That would be great. That would be great because that's what the heat was over, which is stupid. Marvelous Mike says CM Punk with Kevin Nash as his manager. Oh, there's a lot of heat between Punk and Nash. I forgot about that. Oh, brother. I didn't know Nash hated him so vociferously until now. WG Field says the storyline of Bobby and Punk would mostly be like Bobby was the corporate favorite for ECW. Yeah. Okay, so that was almost 15 years ago. Then it's ECW, WWE, ECW. Then it would have to involve Paul, and Paul being the guy who had to make the call, had to make the decision. I don't know. Plus, I don't think Lashley's style really works with Punk. I don't know. I think it could work as a good match, but I'm just trying to figure out what the storyline would be. Like, there's some natural storylines there for CM Punk that could use heat that he got into with people with. That you could use. But I think you want to go with somebody safe first. And Miz is very safe. because he's business. He'll get over it. He just collects his check and go about his business. But CM Punk versus The Miz is not a WrestleMania match. It's just, you'd have to work hard. You have to let Miz do a lot of work in order to build that as a WrestleMania match. I think it's easier to just go with Punk versus Edge. Bobby Fish. I did listen to the Bobby Fish Keeping It 100 clip. He's the fifth person that I've heard say that CM Punk came into the locker room and turned himself into the locker room leader. And he was being a bit of a douche about, oh, your martial arts suck, and I don't want to put over your martial arts. Like, if you don't shut the fuck up, Bobby Fish, he out here talking like he was UFC heavyweight champion or something like that. Like he was fucking Randy Couture or, Chuck Liddell or something like that. You probably trained in some martial arts, but you're not super fucking successful. Who cares? But he made a good point when he started talking about CM Punk politicking, because I've heard that stuff independent of him. He's the fifth person who said it. Jericho said it, Cody said it, Booker T said it, Rob Van Dam said it, and now fucking Bobby Fish has said it. Goddamn, everybody. And people have told stories about his time in Ring of Honor, that, he basically took over the locker room. That's when he got into it with Kevin Owens about, yeah, I'm not putting over CM Punk's MMA moves. Like, if you don't shut your ass, who are you? I studied Taekwondo. It's like, you ain't won anything, though. If you were fucking Brock or Cain Velasquez and you're like, I'm not putting over this weak ass MMA, I would be like, you're a bit of an asshole, but okay, I'll take it. You have legitimate credentials. You don't want to put over no fake looking shit. Okay, fine. But you're a fucking Bobby Fish, bro. Like, take the fucking sidekick and shut up, Take the roundhouse and shut up. It looks like shit, though. So what? Nobody cares. He's a star. Take the fucking roundhouse and shut up. What the hell difference do it make to you? Just take the money and be quiet. That's the shit that don't make no sense. Like, what the hell? Who the hell are you to be sitting here saying you're not going to put over his worked MMA? Fuck, nobody cares about your goddamn Taekwondo background from when you was in. Talking about? What are you talking about, really? Like, do you want to feed your family this week or not? Shit, who cares, bro? Nobody give a fuck about that, man. If a guy like Ken Shamrock or Dan Severn can put over somebody's weak ass MMA or something like that, get over it, bro. Get out of your goddamn feelings and handle it. You know how many times Kurt Angle had to work with guys and they had to actually out wrestle him, take him down or something like that. You think he was gonna be like, I'm Kurt Angle, bitch. I don't need to sell your grapple. He did business. Fucking Bobby Fish. If you don't shut your ass, who are you? You have never achieved anything in the mixed martial arts world that you can step up and be like, I'm not selling your roundhouse kick. Bitch, please. Please, dog. Please. It was amazing to me that I heard him say that. And of course, Disco and Conan aren't going to check him on it, but I know I would have. I'd have been like, Bobby, bro, like, did you win like a kickboxing tournament or something like that? Because if you didn't, just take the roundhouse kick and shut up, dog. Like, who cares? Really? Who really gives a shit? It looks like shit. Okay. All right. Oh my God. I get it. I get it. But you're not Ken Shamrock. You're not Dan Severn. You're not Brock Lesnar. You're not Cain Velasquez. You're not fucking Kurt Angle. You're not Gable Steveson. You're not some high-level guy, highly trained in one thing that we can alter this guy's match for you. Most people don't know you have any kind of Taekwondo background and they don't give a fuck because you're not over. Take the kick, get the check, and get over it. So That really was so stupid. But he was right 100% on Punk trying to be a locker room leader. He needs to get over that. That was stupid. That was very stupid. Oddly enough, Rob Van Dam also trained in Taekwondo and rarely used kicks. Well, he used kicks a lot, but his kicks didn't look that great. And he worked stiff. And that was one of the knocks against Rob Van Dam is that even though his punches didn't look very good, his punches were stiff. And his kicks looked stiff too. But his kicks looked good, though. That was for sure. Was I a fan of the Nexus? Not really. It was just too many of them. It was too many of them. They were too green. The angle was great. I think they should have carried the angle to WrestleMania. But all the idea of they should have put the belt on Wade Barrett and all that, no. Nah, not at all. It was a bunch of fucking greenhorns. Not one of them had any business being the world champion. None of them. So, are we really all that upset? Should they have won the SummerSlam match? Probably. They probably should have won that match. Having John Cena beat them all was kind of crazy. That was nutty right there. But the rest of that stuff, he should have beat Randy. Or Wade Barrett should have beat Randy Orton for the title. No. Mm-mm. They were all nondescript talents. You couldn't tell Wade Barrett from Heath Slater at that point, but it was all, it was all black shirts. So it really, no, it just wasn't the right time. I definitely think they should have booked that storyline in a way where it lasted till WrestleMania, though. And that should have been the blow off. Like, they should have won at SummerSlam. Maybe Wade Barrett got his title match. Then, of course, you have Wade Barrett lose the title match. Then you somehow continue to build them through the Royal Rumble up until WrestleMania, where somebody or a team of people eventually beat them and disband the Nexus. But ultimately, they should not. I don't think they got too raw of a deal. How many of them actually became anything? Bray Wyatt was in the second wave of the Nexus, so he don't even count. Bryan Danielson got fired, brought back, and then when he was brought back, he didn't have anything to do with the Nexus. So I think he feuded with them for a short time, then he went on to doing something else. Wade Barrett, they kept trying to get Wade Barrett over. They gave him 100 Intercontinental title runs, King of the Ring. He kept getting injured and never really got over. Now, I got some bad news. That was great. That was legit cool. Why they didn't go with that, I don't know. But bad news Barrett was fine. Everybody else that was in that group, low mid-carders. Justin Gabriel, really. What was his ceiling? What were you going to do with him? Heath Slater, what were you going to do with him? Highlight of his career was getting beat up by legends. Ryback, he had to leave and be repackaged first. So, there's, what was that guy? The black dude, what was his name? Tarver. I don't know. He was nothing. The guy, the black John Cena, I don't understand how they managed to hire a guy who looks just like John Cena, but he's black. How did that happen? Michael Tarver, that was his name. Okay. He wasn't much of anything either. Like, there's just, you really didn't have anything there. It was all angle. It was all the angle of them coming up and destroying the ring and saying they was being treated like shit. It was 99% story. That you couldn't individualize them, because they have a shared struggle. So you have to continue the shared struggle. So trying to individualize them, that would have taken time. Darren Young, I forgot what the hell his Nexus name was. All I know him now is for his crap in New Japan that I don't watch. So you're looking at a bunch of guys you couldn't individualize. There's nothing you could do with them except put together a team to fight them. And if they win at SummerSlam, okay, great. Then you had them survive Survivor Series. They win at Survivor Series 2. They go through Royal Rumble. They all get eliminated. And then they fight a team of baby faces at WrestleMania and lose. That probably would have been your best option. I do not think they should have been world champions or anything like that. Maybe tag team champions. And that's really what the Nexus was. It was a really good story. You know, these guys were tortured with that silly game show. They were made fun of. They were getting bullied and picked on. It made sense from a storyline perspective that they would, I'm sick of this shit. I'm tired of this, and tear up everything. You know, as an invading force, it worked. The problem was people want them over pushed. They think that Wade Barrett should have been made the world champion. It's like, no, we should not have done that. We rightfully did not give Wade Barrett the world title. He wasn't ready for it, for starters. Secondly, his struggle was the same struggle as everybody else's. He was not, as a character, in a position to be individualized in that way. Oh yeah, David Oates, I forgot about him. The Jacked Attorney. I think he still works in WWE too, by the way. Oh yeah, the new Nexus, that was a mess. Have we talked about Cody and The Rock at WrestleMania? No. Like I said before, I don't think the Rock thing is happening. So my view on it hasn't changed. It's going to be Cody. I don't think the Rock is going to happen until it actually is in the ring. I don't think it's going to work. The core was not the new Nexus. The new Nexus and the core were two different groups, and it was awful. It was dumb. The group had definitely run its course by that point. But they shouldn't have even done the new Nexus. Whenever you put the new in front of something, it's over. I can't think of anything that you call new in wrestling, and it worked. The new Rockers, the new Blackjacks, the new Midnight Express. None of those are better than the originals. So I was dumb. I wouldn't have done that. So maybe you could have done something where there was somebody who was behind the Nexus, a main event talent that was sort of the guy who was riling them up, maybe some kind of revolutionary style character that was the one that kind of dropped the bug in their ear that they should do this, But they probably would have made that a fucking McMahon or something like that. It'd have been like Stephanie McMahon or something stupid like that. So probably not. The core of the Nexus, which is stupid because the Nexus is the core. When you have a Nexus, the Nexus is the core. It's the same thing. And then they put the core with two R's. It was silly. The New World Order. Okay, you got me on that one. The new Daniel Bryan. That wasn't. They didn't refer to him as. They just called him that. It wasn't like he was a different person that was called the new Daniel Bryan. But there technically was nobody called the Old World Order or the World Order either. If there was a stable called the World Order and then there's another stable called the New World Order, then maybe you have a point. The core with two R's is stupid. Even if it was for the purpose of, branding, it looked like shit. The core, the core, the core. The New Nation, that didn't work either. And it wasn't like the original. I don't think anybody even cared about the New Nation. It's very unfortunate. Roman's coming back October 27th. How far is that from, what was that, Crown Jewel that they about to have? I know it's like a month away from Survivor Series, but how far is it away from Crown Jewel? Because I know they're going to Saudi. uh, soon. They'll be in Saudi Arabia soon. So y'all gonna keep trying to find something that's new, that's good. Keep trying. Like the New Day. Is there one called the Day? Is there a group called the Day? There is no old day or past day. I still can't believe they got away with that name, the New Day, though, because that is not a really good name. You know, who is better, Core or Retribution? Oh, I stand on record. If Retribution was done differently, it would have been better. You know, it would have been better if they did Retribution differently. The Old Gods is a team name in the game. I didn't know that. Interesting. I never heard that before. Do you ever hear about the nonprofit called Gays Against Groomers, or GAG? Yes, I've heard of GAG. I've heard of Gays Against Groomers. I don't know, man. I don't know about the Core being better than Retribution. Look, Retribution, they dropped the ball. For starters, I didn't like the people they put in it. They didn't put anybody in it with any cachet. It was a vehicle for Mustafa Ali, which just why? Just why? No, he clearly was not. If he could have been like the voice, he could be the voice, and that's fine. But they needed to be a solidified main event wrestler who was the leader of the group. Like, you could have a spokesman. You could have a guy who is the rabble rouser of the group, but he's not necessarily the leader. You know. Also, the masks look cheap and they look stupid, and it also was bad timing. Too many people compared it to Antifa, and the message was muddled. They should have been clear, which is why I think it should have been NXT talent. And it should have been people who were waiting for their opportunity and never got it. Then they gave them silly names, and it was just all down. It was all down bad. People were willfully taking themselves out of it. Like Mercedes Martinez, she took herself out of it. She was like, I did one thing and that was it. There was another girl who was in it. I forget who it was, but they noticed who it was because of her hair, and they took her out of the group too. So it was just botched from the beginning. But I didn't hate Retribution. The story, as a story, it makes perfect sense. It's a rebel organization. You could always do a rebel organization. Just gotta have the right people in it. It's gotta have the right message, and it's gotta be done in a cool way. You can't have people with silly names and all this kind of stuff, man. It wasn't good. Raw Underground was okay too. It was one of those things that people hated for no reason, and they were trying something different, and I appreciated it. So I appreciated it. Plus, I like Bloodsport. I'm surprised Mustafa Ali's still in WWE too, if we're being honest, because he tried to quit numerous times. Uh, Most are used mainly like mixed match challenge teams. I thought I'm a fool. I actually thought there was going to be like a mixed match championship. When they was doing that mixed match challenge stuff, I was like, are they about to have like an intergender tag team title? Because Mexico has it. AAA has a intergender tag team championship where it has to be one man and one woman. And that's something that a major wrestling promotion hasn't done yet. So I'm waiting for AEW or WWE to introduce it, especially if you have married couples on the roster like you do in WWE. It might make sense for you to have like a mixed match championship. I mean, that's too many titles in the company as it is. So I'm not saying like introduce this, But I thought that's the direction they were going in because I was like, that's a unique concept. It guarantees that you have a women's match on the show, and it seemed like that's the direction they were going to go into. Is they're going to have like a mixed match championship, but they decided not to go that route. You know, so yeah, I don't know. Santana Garrett, that was the girl that was in Retribution. They took her out. I think it was her. Because I know that Mercedes Martinez, she wanted out after the first time she did it. And then there was another girl, too, who they took her out because they could recognize her by her hair. And then there was, um, I think they took out somebody else, too. But they just kept making changes to the group. So, I don't know. It says, Darren Gordon-Hill says, you cannot have a hot tag if your opponent must tag out. Well, you can technically have a hot tag. The issue would be your comeback spot when you can't make contact with the other person on the team. So if the man hot tags, he can hot tag because the point of the hot tag is that he's tired and he needs to get out of the ring. The issue is how are you going to do the big comeback spot when the babyface comes in, they hitting all the opponents. How do you do it in the reverse? Like you might be able to get away with it if the woman comes in, she drop kicks the man, and then she starts attacking the girl. All right, but then what happens when she is the babyface in peril and she tags out, and then he has to come in, house of fire, and the only person he can beat up is the guy. So that really is you're handicapped in that regard. You can't do a hot tag, because you can't make a big comeback. So it really doesn't make sense. It was a gimmick just for Facebook, but I thought they were going to do more of it because it seemed like these things were successful, but it stopped. Judgment Day or the Hurt Business, please get out of here with that. Yes, I've talked about the Russell Brand thing earlier, where you have people in shadow, 4 women, no proof that he even knows who these women are. That's why in a court of law you get to face your accusers, um, because we don't. He might not even know any of these women, you know, but they can make allegations through a reporter or whatever, and that's it. Again, innocent until proven guilty. I first heard about it though from him. Like he put out that video basically saying that he was promiscuous in his past, but he's never raped anybody. And I was like, oh boy, what was that about? I thought he was talking about something else. And then next thing I know, it's everywhere. It's on the front page of newspapers. Everybody's tweeting about it, and I'm like, oh brother. Uh, One of them was the granddaughter of his boss. Is she somebody he banged or somebody who said that she raped her? Korshan R says, I like the Sami Zayn as a heel with a conspiracy gimmick because he was much funny. Yeah, I like the conspiracy gimmick, Sami Zayn. Now, imagine if conspiracy theorist Sami Zayn was the leader of Retribution. And that was a serious take on the gimmick. That would have been interesting. If you'd have thought he was a joke all this time, and then he decided to launch this Retribution, and now he's like, are you listening now? Are you paying attention now? That could have been a little bit different. Russell Brand's fake Jesus cult. He does look like a cult leader. He legit does look like a cult leader. Though. I don't know why he chose that for his look, but he looks like every cult leader from the 1970s. They see, so it seemed like they course correct after the flop of 2K20 that promoted mixed match stuff. I didn't know about that. Just because somebody has sex outside of marriage doesn't mean that it's rape. It means that people engaged in adult activities that God does not approve of. That is not rape. But if he banged his boss's granddaughter, his boss might not approve. And that might be the reason why he's not mainstream. But I thought he was a comedian. I didn't know, like, comedians don't have bosses, you know? Maybe it was somebody he was contracted with, or, some organization that he had a contract with. He don't have a boss. He's a comedian. Uh, Sami Zayn as a master strategist. Matt Walsh on Dancing with the Stars. Well, shouldn't he be? For starters, don't you have to be a star first? Second, it doesn't seem like something he would do because that would mean having a personality. You know, that's I don't think he has a personality to which Dancing with the Stars would work. But if he really is going to do it, that means he's trying to loosen up, which is interesting. Very interesting. That's very interesting. I have no interest in watching it, but it's interesting. Um, saying Russell Brand is a druggy pervert. Well, that part is probably true. Uh, I don't approve of his lifestyle. I'm not a big Russell Brand guy. I don't follow him. The only reason I even know about this whole thing again is because he did a video that people retweeted. I don't watch his show or anything like that. But apparently he's been trying to rehab his image, and this is about bringing up his past, which is what they do. And when you are like a drunky derelict like Russell Brand was, you have a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, it's a very weird scenario where where since he was accused of rape by like four women, like 3 or 4 women have come out and said, "Oh yes, we used to chill at his flat, and we were doing a lot of heavy petting and touching and kissing it, and I said no, and nothing happened." I was just kind of like, okay, look, I wasn't there, you know. I'm just looking at it and saying it's very convenient that every time somebody attacks the mainstream, they get called a rapist. It's just very convenient that that happens every single time. I'm sorry, but everybody who attacks the mainstream is not a racist or a rapist. I don't believe that those things go together this way. You know, and it's entirely possible that some of them could be rapists or racist or whatever, but not everybody, for Christ's sake. Uh, didn't Sami Zayn have a video of the conspiracies he's been involved in, but WWE suddenly forgot about it and never mentioned it? He was supposed to drop a documentary, and then they started doing the Logan Paul stuff. So that's what happened. Uh, they never actually put out the documentary. He said he actually put together the documentary, but they never actually used it. I think the crowds had come back by then too, because they were doing all the documentary stuff. We was doing the Thunderdome, and then crowds started to come back. Is that how it worked? Because they did the Logan Paul stuff. I think the Logan Paul stuff was before the crowd came back. I'm not sure, but when the Logan Paul stuff happened, that's when the documentary stuff got dropped. Because that's when him and Kevin Owens started to feud. Uh, it says rebranding himself on YouTube and social media after pissing away his old media position because kept shitting where he ate and bragging about it. Well, yeah, he's a movie star, and you know, Hollywood, they allow you to do that kind of stuff until they don't. You know, nobody. Again, most of this stuff is really, really old shit from, as far as I know, 15 years ago. Um, it just don't take that long to realize you've been raped, man. It's just, you got to stop it, because that's another reason why these things being public is important, because if you haven't had any contact with this woman in 15 years, Or for starters, we need to be able to prove that you actually know this person that is making this accusation. But then if you haven't spoken or seen this person in 15 years, you don't know what the fuck they've come up with in that time. What kind of financial predicaments are they in? You know, who's there was a girl who she did I think a TikTok or something, and she said she was interviewed because apparently whoever dropped the story on Russell Brand did their research and actually was looking at all these different girls that Russell Brand had had sex with. So apparently they had like some kind of record of girls that he was banging. So they were probably delivering these girls to him, you know, because how else do you know how many girls he that's been in his house and that he's banged? Um, but she said she was contacted by a reporter who wanted to talk to her about it. But then when she said that he was nothing but a gentleman and he wasn't a problem, he didn't attack her, the person stopped calling her. And I'm like, that sounds about right. You know, they're not listening for any kind of situations in which it was consensual or it didn't go any further than the girl wanted it to go. They're looking for he forcefully raped me kind of nonsense. And then, of course, there's 100 excuses why you couldn't tell in 15 years. It's like I don't think I talked about this on the channel, but, or maybe I did, the Mel Tucker situation where, the chick was on the call for 36 minutes and while he's masturbating over the phone, and her excuse was she was frozen. She froze for 36 minutes while he was masturbating over the phone. Like, man, unless you was in a fucking coma, like, unless you literally couldn't move, like, literally were handcuffed to the bed and couldn't move, you could have hung up the phone. Or at least walked away from the phone or rolled away from the phone hangs up by mistake, anything. I don't buy it. These people do this shit all the time because we know now that women will destroy your life if you let them. If you're dumb enough to get too involved with too many people, which Russell Brand is, and a lot of movie stars are, Donald Trump is another one, politicians, all of these people, they get involved with too many people, you know? And these people get in hard times or things don't go the way that they think it should go. And all of a sudden they got a vendetta. And somebody shows up with the right money or with the promise that you're going to be protected and no one's ever going to know who it was you are. And all of a sudden, oh, it was rape. And you're like, wait a minute, what? You know? And you don't, when it's 15, 20 years ago, you're probably not going to remember the details of the situation. You know? Like, I don't remember the details of many sexual encounters. You know? The details of it. You know for sure you didn't forcefully hold anybody down and rape them. That's for sure didn't happen. But that's not what they're alleging. They're not alleging he put a knife to their throat and raped, which is what people think of when they think of rape. It was, I didn't give consent every 10 seconds, therefore it was rape. Or, he was being persistent and then I just gave it to him. It's like, come on. Yeah, like it's so ridiculous, bro. And we don't even take that shit into account. Like these people are remembering rape fantasies from 15 fucking 30 fucking years ago. And you like, bro, just sit down with somebody and like, if I fucked this chick 25 years ago, I don't remember it. Because I probably fucked more than just her that week. I'm a celebrity. Like I don't know how many hoes I fucked last week, let alone 30 years ago. You know? So no, I don't remember fucking this girl. But I don't remember not raping anybody. So if anybody says that they were raped, they're a fucking liar. But you're not allowed to have that conversation. How would it take you 30 years to realize you were raped? Right? The only way I would have remembered it if you filmed it. You know? it's nutty. It's just like a real nutty thing, you know? Like when you talk about old crimes still revolve around evidence. Rape is the only fucking thing you can accuse somebody of with no evidence, and it ends up going to trial. You know, it's like if you say I stole your car, you have to prove I stole your car. You know, that doesn't make sense for you to say, well, you stole my car. What do you mean I stole your car? I don't have your car. I'm not in possession of your car. You didn't see me steal your car. You know, there's no, pieces of your car around here. I don't know what you're talking about. Where is the evidence that I stole your car? But rape is the only thing that you can accuse somebody of with no fucking evidence from 30 years ago. You should just be like, okay, well, he raped you. Okay, what did you have for breakfast last Tuesday? Because if you can remember something from 30 years ago, you should be able to remember what you got from the grocery store last Thursday. Then no, you probably didn't. You are likely a groupie who went to bed with this guy. Maybe you were looking for some money or looking for him to take care of you, or you was trying to get pregnant or whatever the case may be, and it didn't work out. I would never get. People have told me, "Oh, you should run for office." I'm like, it'll never happen. You know, it'll never happen. Because I'm too brutal about stuff like this. I treat women like adults. You know, and most people don't. They infantilize women. You know, they treat women like children. And because they treat women like children, they have all these excuses to why they can't report that they were sexually assaulted. You know, again, the Mel Tucker thing is even more ridiculous than the Russell Brand thing because this woman was hired by Michigan State University to be a she's not a brand manager, but she's to teach the boys about consent and all this kind of shit. And, oh, she was raped in high school. That got fuck all to do with Mel Tucker. They got nothing to do. He wasn't there for that. Okay, that got fuck all to do with this situation. They became friends. They started having long conversations. They were hanging out. It's a miracle that both of them managed to delete all the texts they had against each other. So she has no text of his. He has no text of hers. Yet he felt comfortable enough to masturbate over the phone with her. Phone records, for starters, here in Detroit, we realize, right? You could delete texts and people could still find them if they want them. Because that's what happened to Kwame Kilpatrick. He deleted all his texts about all the hoes he was banging. And when they wanted to charge him for corruption and all that kind of stuff, they went and found those texts. So if they wanted to find the texts between Mel Tucker and the Brenda, whatever her name was, they could find them if they wanted to. They don't want to. Because Mel Tucker said that they were flirting and having a sort of inappropriate relationship, which it is, it's an inappropriate relationship. But the infantilization of women comes from she was on the phone with him for 36 minutes while he was masturbating, and she just froze. On the other end of the phone, she just froze. She couldn't hang up. All the trauma from when she was raped as a teenager came flooding back into her mind. And I'm like, why do people believe that shit? That's fucking magic, bro. I'm not buying that. Okay, I'm just not. You can't tell me that you never had a consensual sexual relationship with anybody after you got raped. Get the fuck out of here. I get that certain things might be triggering. Maybe if you were literally having sex with him and he got a little aggressive, that may, trigger some, oh no, some stuff about you being raped. But he was over the phone. You couldn't even see his face. 36 minutes. No. And then this shit happened over a year ago. And then it took her 8 months between the phone call to file a complaint. Like, bro, get the fuck out of here. But anybody who's an adult would throw this shit out and just be like, look, this is stupid. Come on. It was clear you wanted his body, but he wasn't going to leave his wife. And you were like, oh, you're not going to leave your wife? I'm going to nuke your career. Cost this guy 90 something million dollars, which is ludicrous because no football coach should make $90 million, if we're being honest. Especially not a college football coach. But this infantilization of women, that they freeze up all the time and they don't know how to handle situations. But they're also the warriors that are raising our children and carrying our society and all this shit. It's like, come on, man. Either it's one thing or it's the other thing. Either you're responsible for protecting women and all this kind of shit, or they are the super warriors who are carrying our democracy or whatever. You can't have it both ways, man. But people let them have it both ways. Like, you gotta. No, it's nonsense. What are we talking about peeing on this girl for? I don't know. I don't understand where you get the idea that Tony Khan has even anything to do with the rules. She kissed me on the dance floor as things can only get better played. Something in the parking lot, something at mine, never saw her again. What year, fuck if I know. Yeah, I mean, odd things happen all the time to people, and you don't have any questions. And even if sometimes things happen, um, try having a memory of when it occurred. Like, there's encounters that I know I had with people. I don't know how long ago it was. I don't know what year it was. Like, it was. I don't know what month. I don't know what week. I don't remember when that was, because there's going to be almost no record of it. I likely don't talk to that person anymore. There's no text between us, no emails, nothing. Haven't seen this person in forever. But when you create incentives, there's an incentive to lie, and there's no incentive to tell the truth. You know, it's it's very bizarre. And yeah, I saw it was Ashton Kutcher and his wife, I think girlfriend or whatever. They did the letters for Danny Masterson to say that he's a good guy, but then he got found guilty anyway. And then they came out and was like, "Oh, we apologize. Sorry, Hollywood friendship. Hollywood friendship is not friendship, is it? You know, your friends are we got your back until it becomes negatively affecting us. Then we don't have your back anymore. We still believe in you, but we apologize for um, having your back. It's nonsense. Uh, how many friends or family members have we all lost because of believing women who paint themselves as victims, and they all get, I guess you mean, sympathy and attention they don't deserve? We have destroyed, like, there have been plenty of stories like boys in high school and college, and a couple of average Joes who have committed suicide because they were accused of domestic violence and lost their job, accused of rape by an ex-girlfriend, um, and we don't do anything about that stuff. And it's getting to the point where you can lie about pretty much anything. You know, you can lie about racism, you can lie about rape, you can lie about it, and you will not face any punishment. Not even socially. You don't even get socially shamed. You know, like there's been stories that have been proven false, like the mattress girl story. She's still able to go about her life, and that's it. It's like, wait a minute, she should have been expelled from school, and she should have been brought up on charges of fraud and making a false police report. Even if she didn't go to jail, her name should have been dirtied at least. These women get away almost scot fucking free for saying wild stuff in the media and on television, and they just get away with it because it's infantilizing. Oh, those poor women. And the craziest story is when they say we can't prosecute false rape accusations because then people won't talk about real rape accusations. Like, what? We can't prosecute people who lied because people who might be telling the truth will think they're going to get prosecuted. No, that's not how that works. Like, we're prosecuting the proven liars. And you truly don't believe that this stuff happens the way that you say it does if you think that's going to be your excuse why you can't do it. So you're just going to be worried that everybody who pops up is a fucking liar. And that's fine. We definitely need to start locking up the liars, though. Somebody needs to actually actively have the political clout. It'll never happen because men have no political clout in our society. Therefore, it'll never happen that somebody's going to actually say, this woman lied about domestic violence to get her husband to lose custody of his children. We're going to step in and do something about that. This woman lied about being raped. We're going to do something about that. This woman lied about, being called a nigger by some white people on a college campus. We're going to do something about that, And nobody ever does it because the Republicans don't want to do anything about it because they're scared of being called racist. For some reason, they haven't become inoculated to that. And the Democrats are the ones who are creating the incentives because what ends up happening is those people become a part of the Democrat machine. They start like the woman who accused Brett Kavanaugh of rape. They took her on tour. She went from college campuses collecting large sums of money. She went on a speaking tour about surviving rape and all this kind of stuff. This woman provided zero fucking evidence that she was raped. Zero. None. There's not even proof that she even knows Brett Kavanaugh or that they were even in the same place at the same time. And they took her on a speaking tour, put money in her pocket. And then he goes to the Supreme Court and it's just over. Like, I'm too vengeful for that, bro. I'm entirely too vengeful for that. That's just the political gamesmanship. And that's what I mean by it's bullshit because they had Clarence Thomas, defend himself from sexual assault and sexual harassment accusations and all this kind of stuff. Then he gets on the Supreme Court and nothing. I'd be like, fuck no. I want to prove my name. Sure, it didn't stop me, but you have video of this woman sitting in a big chair telling big fat fucking lies. I want this woman, I want her to provide some fucking evidence or I'm going to sue her. We're going to go to court over this. You know what I'm saying? Like, but almost every single time your attorney will say, drop it. And that's the problem. The attorneys will be like, you're on the Supreme Court. Don't worry about it. Just let it go. And then you as the man have to bite the bullet and say, you know what? You're right. I won because I still got voted on. So I'm going to drop it. And it happens so many times because it happens to men all the time. And I'll never forget, I don't remember his name, but I'll never forget the story of a guy who got drafted to the Houston Texans and then got cut because a girlfriend from college claimed that he raped her because she didn't get none of the money that he was making from getting drafted into the NFL. So she came up with a rape accusation and he got cut from the team. He went back to the college to prove that he didn't happen. And the team did not give him his job back. Like, are you fucking serious? Like, you just can't escape it. It's one of the biggest sins in our society is that immoral behavior has no punishment. That is a huge part of, I would not even say the United States. I'm just talking about Western culture in general now. Because I'm thinking it's the same thing in England and Australia and Canada, etc. There's so much antisocial behavior that has no punishment, no consequences behind it. Whether it's the mass looting that's going on, the mass shoplifting, the mass drug abuse, having children out of wedlock, the mass assaults, the false rape accusations, false racism accusations, and the embezzlement, the corruption of the government, the abuse of authority by government officials, all this kind of stuff. And there's no punishment. Nobody ever does anything. So there's no incentive. There's nothing to stop them from continuously doing it. So it's very weird. But we're going to wrap this thing up in maybe a few more minutes. AJ3 says, we'd rather take the side of the stranger that we don't know over the people we've known all our lives. It's sad. But that's political gamesmanship, Like when the Danny Masterson situation is perfect. Those people knew him. They known him for a long time, and they wrote letters saying, we don't think this is him. We don't think this is, a situation that occurred. They don't know the intricate details of his life. They weren't there. But they're just saying, look, I don't know this guy. I don't know if I believe it. They were then attacked for not believing women. This nonsense, bro. Did I see the totally legit alien they found in Mexico? I heard about aliens in Mexico. I heard about this alien. It's bullshit. It ain't a real alien, I can tell you that much. But it comes across like one of those things that people like to talk about. But I think that any alien life that we might find is not going to be big enough to examine. It's going to be like a collection of it's going to be like an amoeba or like a coral reef or some shit like that. Have I seen The Simpsons? If so, what is your season? Of course, who hasn't seen The Simpsons? It's been on for 40 years. What kind of question is that? Have you ever seen this enormously popular television show that's been around since 1989? Yeah, I've seen an episode of The Simpsons. I couldn't tell you one season. I know the earlier episodes is not with the grainy animation, not the best. The Simpsons got good. 93 maybe. It got good. 94. I think the show got funnier when Homer became the star of the show rather than Bart. Like Bart was funny at first. Then, Bart he was the star of the show in the early 90s. Then maybe somewhere in the mid 90s it became Homer. And Homer's been like the running the running character ever since. I heard they actually try to move away from them and do more of the main cast of I'm sorry, the other cast of characters like the Flanders and all this kind of stuff. And it works sometimes. It depends on the story that you're trying to tell. But I think the Simpsons were at their strongest. They were at their most popular when Bart was the main character. But I think they were funnier when Homer was the main character. So whatever the Homer seasons would have been, and I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I have no idea. The show's been on forever, so I don't know. How do you approach a girl in community college? You have to approach her. Look, you can either sit around and be a virgin, or you gotta, take the leap. But the thing is, you have to be more careful. You can't get caught up in college culture. College hookup culture is that's what's getting people so jammed up now. Because 15, 20 years ago, it was perfectly fine for you and a girl to go get a room, have a couple of drinks, you banged her, maybe called her on the phone afterwards, maybe not. MTV supported this kind of stuff. You saw it all the time, all over MTV. Teenage boys or early 20s boys, frat boys at that, drinking kegs of beer with girls, taking them to the back room, banging them, and then never talking to the girl again. And that was the culture. And now those people are starting to get called rapists. So you can't do shit like that. But you got to be a little bit more tactful now. But your only option is to not ever get into contact with women, and you can't do that. Who wants to live their life that way? You can't live your life in fear. You just have to understand that you got something to lose and cut bait when you can, or when you feel like you have to. Because too often, if you got something and these people feel wrong, they'll try to take it from you. All right. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.